A live look into the locker room as the Carmel Roundabouts host the Centerton Racers. We welcome you to the traffic-inducing courts, the home of the Carmel Roundabouts. This should be a really fun one. It's the Racers and the Roundabouts. Take a look at Brennan Miller, his last few games for the Centerton Racers. Really good player for Centerton right there. It's Brennan Miller. Jay Sean Ladd, Cam Sir Cooper Dunbar, Brennan Miller, and Isaiah Hill on the court for the Centerton Racers. Jason Gardner Jr. looking to lead the Roundabouts in this game. Really good game coming up from Carmel. And we are underway from the traffic-inducing court, the home of the Roundabouts. Webster gives it to Ladd. Jay-Sean Ladd gives it to Hill. Isaiah Hill for two. And the Racers score early. Here's Welker. Mac Welker looks. Here's Zachary. Cooper Zachary misses. Dunbar gives it to Webster. Webster to Hill. Isaiah Hill misses. Cooper Zachary rebound. Gives it back to Welker. Welker to Zachary. Gives it to Welker. Mac Welker for three. He almost misses that shot, but he will make it. Here's Dunbar. Dunbar looks. Dunbar inside the paint. Does not make the shot. Here's Welker. Mac Welker looks. Here is Welker again. Back to Zachary. Zachary looks inside the paint. Does not make it. Dunbar with the rebound. Here's Isaiah Hill. Gives it to Miller. Brennan Miller for two. Mark it up. Brennan Miller has scored. Here's Cooper Zachary. Zachary there. Here's Welker. Back to Gilbert. Shannon Gilbert misses. Isaiah Hill rebound. Here's Miller again. Miller looks. Inside the paint. Makes it. And the Racers are up by three. Here's Welker. He looks. Mac Welker looks to score. Gives it back to Vice. Back to Gardner. Jason Gardner Jr. for three. Gardner Jr. always hits those more than likely. Here's Jay Sean Ladd. Gives it to Miller. Back to Ladd. Back to Webster. Gives it to Hill. Gives it to Miller. Brennan Miller misses. Hill rebound, and he will put it in. Isaiah Hill will score. This Centerton team is really good. Here is Zachary giving it back to Gilbert. Pass to Welker. Back to Gardner. Jason Gardner Jr. for three, and the Roundabouts are up by one. Timeout by Centerton. Really good game early in this one. It's a one-point advantage for the Roundabouts. Here we go. Welcome back to Carmel. Brennan Miller, three-point average is second only to Christian Bryant. Great game here from Carmel. Carmel has looked good. Here's Miller, giving it to Hill. Gardner is on the court. Here's Dunbar. Dunbar looks. He's going to keep it himself, and he's going to miss the shot. Colton Catchings, rebound. Here is Zachary. Cooper Zachary looks. Back to Catchings. Giving it to Gardner. Here's Jason Gardner Jr. Back to Catchings. Colton Catchings for three. Great shot by the former Bulldog of Brownsburg. Here's Dunbar. Back to Irwin. Irwin gives it to Hill. Isaiah Hill for two. And that Irwin is Garrett Irwin. Here's Shannon Gilbert. Has it. Dunbar on defense. Gilbert looks. Shannon Gilbert jumps and dunks on Grady Gardner. What a dunk! Grady Gardner just got turned into a literal poster. Gardner gives it to Dunbar. Here's Miller. Miller looks back to Hill. Isaiah Hill for two. Really good game coming on here. Here's Gilbert. He looks. Gilbert looks. Who's he going to give it to? Ellis is open. Down to Zachary. Cooper Zachary misses a three. Garrett Irwin with the rebound. Back to Dunbar. Cooper Dunbar looks. Here's Dunbar. He holds the ball. He looks. He looks to shoot. Inside the paint. Time running out to Irwin. Garrett Irwin misses. After one, Carmel leads it by two. Fantastic game forming from Carmel, Indiana. And the traffic-inducing court. First quarter complete. Carmel 14, Centerton 12. We welcome you back to Carmel. Really good game. Here's Mac Welker. Welker gives it to Catchings. Catchings has it. Back to Welker. To Harrell. Evan Harrell for two. And the Roundabouts will score. Up 16-12. Here is Smith. Smith looks. Passing to Gardner. Grady Gardner misses. Welker looks. Here's Ellis. Ellis. Now it's Welker. Mac Welker misses a shot. Gardner rebound. Grady Gardner now with it. He looks, giving it to Silas Smith. Silas Smith drives it in. Back to the line, to Gardner. Grady Gardner for three. Timeout Carmel. 1 point game as Grady Gardner brings it within one. Great game with 3:52 left to play. We will be back. And we welcome you back to Carmel, taking a look at the league leaders and opponent points allowed per game. Yeah, and of course, it's all Terre Haute Arrows. The Arrows, fantastic team. Here's Sharp, passing it back to Ellis, giving it to Welker. Welker to Ellis. Ellis misses. Diallo back to Webster. Here's Webster. He looks. Gardner still on the court. Back to Gardner. Grady Gardner for two. And the Centerton Racers are up by one. Here's Brandon Sharp. Sharp looks. Here's Ellis, back to Weiss. Max Weiss looks back to Welker. Mac Welker for three. He misses the shot. Ladd back to Diallo. I bit my tongue. That's why I sound like that. Webster there. Webster back to Diallo. Diallo misses the three. It's Sharp with the rebound. Here's Welker back to Catchings. Colton Catchings over the back. One-handed slam. What a play there by Carmel as they go back out in front by one. We are back live here from Carmel. Great game we are seeing happening right now. The Roundabouts up by one on the Racers. The Centerton Racers located in between Mooresville and Martinsville, right by the Centerbrook Drive-In. Indeed, here's Ladd giving it to Miller, back to Gardner, back to Ladd, giving it to Webster. Here's Cam Webster. Webster looks. Back to Hill. Isaiah Hill for two. And it's a foul by Eli Ellis, and it's going to be an and one.
First team foul.
Ladd is out. Diallo and Miller are in. Sharp, Gardner, Zachary, and Weiss on the court. Hill makes the free throw, and it's a 2-point game for the Centerton Racers. Here's Catchings, back to Zachary. Zachary looks. Here it is. Cooper Zachary misses a three. It bounces off the rim multiple times. Hill with the rebound to Gardner. Gardner back to Miller. Brennan Miller misses the shot. Gardner Jr. rebound. Jason Gardner back to Ellis. Giving it back to Sharp. Back to Gardner Jr. Here's Ellis. He looks. Back to Sharp. Giving it to Gardner. Jason misses. Gardner Jr. misses the three. Here's Billo Diallo. Back to Webster. Back to Diallo. Billo Diallo looks. Back to Hill. Back to Gardner. Grady Gardner misses the three. Cooper Zachary with the rebound. Here's Sharp. Brandon Sharp misses the three. Cameron Webster rebound. Back to Gardner. Grady Gardner, oh my goodness, with the poster. What a dunk by Grady Gardner. Here is Brandon Sharp giving it to Zachary. Zachary back to Sharp. Brandon Sharp for three. 1-point game. Really good game in the first half. Here's Miller. He looks. He's going to take it himself. He misses the three. Gardner gives it back to Zachary. Zachary driving it himself. Zachary looks. Back to Weiss. Max Weiss for three. Carmel back out in front. Here's Webster. Cam Webster looks. Webster to Hill. Isaiah Hill to Miller. Brennan Miller. He will miss a three. Ellis to Sharp. Brandon Sharp from pass half court misses a three. And it's Carmel who is up by two. Great game in this one. Carmel, Centerton, 24-22. We will be back after the break. It's a halftime show presented by Nova Rain. Great game from Carmel. The Centerton Racers looked really good. Take a look at the power rankings. The Arrows are all in front. Arrows, Racers, Thunder, Electric, Patriots, Hounds, Railroaders, Wildcats, Raiders, and Roundabouts. The Terre Haute Arrows undefeated right now. Can they be stopped? That's the question. Looking back at the first half highlights, we definitely have a ton of highlights in this one. Mac Wilker looked really good. 24-22. Isaiah Hill, Jason Gardner Jr. are the players of the game right now for both teams. We send you back out to Carmel. Welcome back to the traffic-inducing court in Carmel, Indiana. The crowd is going to go wild once they get back on the court. Before then, take a look at Isaiah Hill's first half. That young guy from Centerton, Indiana, the Racers looking really good. Isaiah Hill looked really good early. Here we go, Gilbert to Zachary. Second half is underway in Carmel. Zachary gives it to Gilbert. Hill covering. Here's Welker. Back to Gardner Jr. Jason Gardner Jr. looks back to Zachary. Cooper Zachary for three. He has done that so many times in high school, and he does it here. Dunbar with it. Dunbar back to Webster. Cam Webster misses a three. Hill rebounding, puts it up. The Racers down by three. Here's Jaden Gilbert from Lawrence North High School. Gilbert looking to take it himself. He does. Gilbert to Welker. Welker almost misses it. Gardner Jr. for three. It's Jason Gardner Jr. who makes a three-pointer. It's 30-24. Webster, Cam Webster for three. Three-point game. Here's Zachary. Cooper Zachary back to Gilbert. Gilbert back to Welker. Mac Welker gives it to Zachary. Zachary Gardner Jr. He misses the shot. Ladd, Jay-Sean Ladd rebound. Miller, Hill, Isaiah Hill for two. Really close game here from Carmel. Welker has it. He looks strong. Back to Zachary. Zachary there. Cooper Zachary misses a three. Rebound by Webster and the Racers. Webster to Hill. Back to Ladd. Jay-Sean Ladd misses a three. Gilbert giving it to Zachary. Zachary with the slam. Timeout Centerton. The Racers down 32-29. We will be back after the break. Back live from Carmel. We are taking a look at the field goal percentage this season. Paul Oliver leads it for the Terre Haute Arrows. Here's Webster. He looks. Back to Miller. Brennan Miller looks. Miller looks. He will miss the three. Here's Zachary. And the three. And the two by Zachary. Cooper Zachary makes the two-pointer. And here we go. Back to Weiss. Zachary looks. Zachary misses. Gilbert. Garner Jr. Jackson Garner Jr. for three. Here's Jay Sean Ladd. Giving to Hill. Back there to Dunbar. Dunbar misses. Tipped out of bounds, and it's going to be Carmel ball. Carmel has the basketball now. Into the game is a lot of guys here. Here is Gilbert. Timeout, Carmel. Carmel will call the timeout, and we will be back after the break. Back live from Carmel. 37-31 is the score right now. We have a really good game here in this one. And now here we go. Here it is. Here is Zachary. Zachary looks. Passes Sharp. Brandon Sharp looks. Pass to Catchings. Golden Catchings for two. 39-31. Here's Grady Gardner. Gardner. Back to Hill. Isaiah Hill looks. Back to Diallo. There to Gardner. Gardner back to Irwin. Garrett Irwin. Back to Ladd. Pass to Gardner, back to Irwin, back to Ladd, back to Gardner. Grady Gardner misses a three, Catchings rebound. Webster, back to Sharp. Here's Sharp, back to Zachary. Zachary drives it in, back to Sharp. He almost lost the ball. Welker, Matt Welker misses a three. Isaiah Hill rebound. Here's Irwin. Garrett Irwin will score. Zachary to Sharp. At the end of three, Carmel is up 39-33. Great game in this one. And here we go. State Farm assist of the game. Here's Welker driving it in. I mean, not Welker, but that's Harrell. Nice drive by Harrell there. Here's Miller giving it back to Gardner. Fourth quarter is underway here from Carmel. Gardner back to Webster. Webster back to Miller. Giving it there. Here's Irwin. Back to Gardner. Back to Diallo. Gardner, Webster. Cam Webster for three. 39-36. Great game indeed here from Carmel. Here's Gardner. He looks. Jason Gardner Jr. for three. Webster now. He looks. Back to Miller. Brennan Miller misses the three. Here's Vice. Vice with it. Back to Sharp. Brandon Sharp with the ball. Sharp back to Gardner. Jason Gardner Jr. drains it again. Gardner Jr. is on fire tonight. Here's Webster. He looks. Back to Diallo. Back to Gardner. Back to Webster. Look at all these passing going on. All this passing. Garrett Irwin looks. Back to Miller. Brennan Miller for three. Timeout, Carmel. Carmel up 44-39. Folks, all these guys know that this is a good game. Everybody in the stands, everybody in the world watching this know that this is a great game. Also, we have another great game going on between Fostoria and Galloway. That is a Ohio Series matchup. Fostoria went up 5-0 early, but right now it is all Galloway. We welcome you back to Carmel as they get ready to go. Brennan Miller has been good all season, and he looks good tonight, but Carmel has a fighting edge. Here's Gardner giving it back to Zachary. Zachary looks back to Gilbert. Jaden Gilbert for three. The Carmel Roundabouts are pulling away in the fourth quarter. Here's Webster. Back to Miller. Miller looks for three. He drains it. It ain't over till it's over. Centerton looking really strong. Here's Zachary. Back to Welker. Welker back to Gilbert. Gilbert to Zachary. Cooper Zachary misses a three. It's a foul on Jason Gardner Jr. Centerton is going to have the ball. Hill gives it back to Ladd. It's a 2-point game. Gilbert. Welker. Back to Gardner. Jason Gardner Jr. for three. Great three-pointer here. 2:15 left in the game. Here's Dunbar. He looks. Are they going to call a timeout? No, they're not. Dunbar looks. Driving it himself. He slams it in. 3-point game. Zachary looks strong. Back to Vice. Vice to Gardner. Back to Zachary. Cooper Zachary looks. Zachary. He drains the 2-pointer. It's a layup. And here's Dunbar. He looks over to the bench, but no timeout called. Dunbar looking. Driving. Back to Hill. Isaiah Hill misses a three. Gardner with the rebound. Here's Zachary. Looks. Looking to put the nail in the coffin. Zachary there. Looks back to Gardner Jr. They're wasting time. Gardner Jr. back to Welker. Mac Welker for three. Mac Welker from Homestead High School in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Here's Dunbar. Dunbar looks back to Webster. Cam Webster for three. 5-point game. Still not over yet. Here's Zachary. And it's a foul by Jay Sean Ladd.
team foul.
It's going to take some mistakes by the roundabouts if they want to win. I mean, it's going to take a lot of mistakes by the roundabouts if the Racers want to win like that. Rebound and tipped. Here is Dunbar. Looks. Back to the line. Jay-Sean Ladd for 3. 2-point game. Really close one here in Carmel. Welker gets fouled. To the line for 2. It's Mac Welker. 2-point game. Centerton has came back. Everybody knows that this is a good game. Here is Welker. Welker drains the first free throw. 3-point game. Mac Welker looks. Second free throw. We welcome you back to Carmel. Here we go. The roundabouts up 57-53. Here we go. Here's Dunbar. Looks back to Hill. Hill for 2. It's a foul on the roundabouts. A foul on the Racers. Here we go. At the line for 2, it's Cooper Zachary. Here we go. Zachary makes the first free throw. Here's Zachary. Zachary makes a second. Timeout, Centerton. Really good game here from Centerton. Here from Carmel. 59-55. Here we go. Centerton will get the ball. They are trying to come back. Trying to make it a 1-point game. 16.2 seconds left. Brendan Miller with it. Back to Hill. They need a 3-pointer. Hill to Miller. Brendan Miller drains it. It's a 1-point game. Garner gives it to Zachary. He gets fouled. Centerton has a chance to win this.
Team foul. At the line for 2, number 21.
Here we go. Cooper Zachary has the ball. Free throw. He makes the first one. 2-point game. Here we go, folks. Zachary, there, looks, makes both. 3-point game. Hill, back to Webster. They have to go deep. Here's Miller. Brennan Miller, tie game in Carmel. We have a tie game. Carmel looking to win it. Are we going into overtime, though? Tie game at a traffic-inducing court. Really good game. Here we go. Tie game. Carmel, 4.3 left on the clock. They have a chance to win this game. Here we go. Gilbert. Who is he going to give it to? Gilbert back to Zachary. Zachary for three. He misses. We are going into overtime in Carmel. Centerton with a great comeback ties it up, and we are in overtime. From Carmel, more extra basketball on the way. Welcome back to Carmel. Overtime getting underway. It's a 2-minute overtime. Centerton has the ball first. Here's Cooper Dunbar. Dunbar has it. Pass to Hill. Hill with it. He will make it. Hill will score. Here's Zachary. Zachary with it. Back to Gardner Jr. Back to Zachary. Cooper Zachary. Oh, he will just barely make that three. Carmel is up by one. Here's Dunbar. Dunbar with it. Back to Ladd. Ladd to Hill. Isaiah Hill for two. Here's Zachary. He has the ball. Back to Vice, back to Welker. Mac Welker back to Gardner. Jason Gardner Jr. drains the three. 1:59 left to play. It's a 2-point game. Here's Dunbar. He looks, drives it in. Back to Miller. Back to Ladd. Jay-Sean Ladd misses a three. Welker with the rebound. Here's Zachary. Cooper Zachary holds it. He has it in deep. Does not get the points to go. Here's Ladd with it. Back to Dunbar. Back to Webster. Back to Miller. Dunbar. Ladd. It's Isaiah Hill. Here we go. The three. No good. Rebound, Jason Gardner. Here's Weiss. Back to Webster. Back to Zachary. Cooper Zachary for three. Carmel is pulling away. The crowd is getting into it. Carmel has the advantage. Timeout Centerton. 5-point game for the Roundabouts, as the Carmel fans are going wild. Racers call a timeout. Roundabouts have the ball. 54 seconds left to play. Here's Miller. Inbounding it to Dunbar. Dunbar looking to make some quick work of Carmel. Here's Dunbar. Back to Hill. Isaiah Hill misses. It's Welker. It's a foul by the Racers. Time is running out. Gilbert looks. Look at Hill. It's Zachary. Zachary, back to Vice, back to Gilbert, to Zachary, it's Welker. To Vice, Max Vice for 2, and Carmel is on their way to potentially winning this one. Cooper Dunbar has the ball. Back to Ladd, Jay-Sean Ladd misses, Garner Jr. rebound. All the adversity from the end of regulation, now to overtime. Carmel will reign supreme. They win it in overtime, 72-65. Great game from the traffic-inducing court. The Roundabouts take control of the Racers. Carmel wins this one. Fantastic game. Every fan in the crowd got more basketball than they wanted. Jason Gardner Jr. is tonight's player of the game for the Carmel Roundabouts. When things were looking tough, this guy was strong. The Roundabouts take control and win it in overtime. Great game from Carmel.